Welcome back to Daddy Lessons with Daisha D. Today I have a very special guest, my first guest. She is a teacher, she is a mom, a wife, and one of my bestest friends, Sandra McCorkle. How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm good. The first part of the show, I typically share a picture
Mm-hmm.
and then give a story behind that picture,
Ooh,
right?
let's see.
This time it'll be your picture because again,
Oh,
this is your story. So, let me see.
oh, I'm nervous.
Share screen. Why are you nervous?
Cause
You just said you was excited. Can you see that?
it's loading. Yeah. Oh, that's my
Okay.
dad.
So this is the picture that you share. So if you're listening and you're not on YouTube to see it, it is a picture from Cassandra's wedding with her dad. And you want to give us context on this picture why you look so annoyed and he's smiling?
So literally, I was already no. Let me just give a quick backstory. So this was the day of my wedding. The wedding was to start at 4:00. It was literally 4:00, and he was laid out on a bed at my mama's house, just lounging around. Nobody was rushing. Nobody was taking anything seriously. So I was already panicking. So Chad had already called me like 3 times. The lady thought he got stood up. So the whole time I was just already annoyed, And so we get out there. This was after the wedding, the photographer taking pictures. Everything was really nice. So Wes was like, oh, let's just come take a picture with me. And I'm like, all right, well, let's be serious. We need a picture. And he was so excited to hold up the peace sign, like, get it together. I just want one serious picture. And I don't even think we even took a serious picture. I think this is probably the only one. So it was real cute. He was excited, but
So
I was
you were
annoyed.
annoyed because y'all were late.
I was annoyed because we were late. I was annoyed because my aunt called and told me the cake was leaning. Like, that was very unimportant in that moment. I was annoyed because poor Chad thought he got stood up. I'm sure he was annoyed because the lady kept asking him, is she still coming? And then it was a lot happening. And then, like, by the time all this was taking place, I was already like, come on. And it was one little clip. I'll send it to you too, where I didn't realize how annoyed I looked until somebody, I think it was Megan, that shared it to me. And I was like, gosh, if looks could kill.
Well, I mean, so y'all, I was in the wedding. I was one of the bridesmaids. So when we were there, and I got there on time. I got there early, actually. So we were all waiting in a back room. I assumed that you would be late,
But not an hour late. It was an
but yeah,
hour.
and I think it was more than an hour actually. But I didn't think you would be that late, but I also didn't think you was standing him up. I didn't think that
So,
at
and I
all.
guess because this lady didn't know us, so she's like, I'm just renting, renting nice space out to you guys. It's over an hour. Your bride is not here. Everybody else is. Where is she? And it does look crazy when it wasn't me, my mom, or my dad, So it's like all three of them
Yeah,
in
but
on
it's
it.
like that's that's not what you say to somebody who's already on edge
Yeah, I didn't think
because
about that.
their partner has not arrived yet. You don't keep asking them like, "You sure she still want to do this? Play it." Like you don't do that. Like you just
And yeah, poor
let
thing.
it happen. You still getting paid regardless. You already got paid.
And that's
So
what
what's
Chad
it
said.
to
Chad was
you?
like, right, whether I show up or not, like, this space has already been paid for. This space has already been rented out, So even if she don't show up, it's just enjoy your free money at that point. But no, it
Exactly.
was.
Now I don't know if you know this or not. I'm gonna stop sharing that. But I got an email today, about an hour ago, that today is the anniversary of him, of Wes.
Really? You know what? I am
Yeah.
such a literal horrible person. I don't be knowing anything at all, period.
I don't, right, but I was just like, oh wow,
Oh,
I don't
wow.
know, that just was interesting. They were like, yeah, send flowers or but so who was Wes to you? Was he your
I call
You
him my
tell
dad
us.
because,
Yeah.
so again, quick backstory. My mom had me at 14 years old. And you know, you're 14, you whatever. So she doesn't really know who my dad is. I've never met my dad. I can walk past him on the street and not even know what he looks like. And so Wes came in my life when I was like about 13 years old, a week before my birthday. And on my 14th birthday, he came to my mama's house with a rose and the Cinderella card, because Cinderella's her favorite movie. And he was like, you know, happy birthday. And he had some money in the card. And at first I was like, this is really sweet. I don't know him, you know, but it was like super sweet. The very first time I ever met him was, and I told the story at his funeral, was when we were at the house, and my mama was like, oh, I got a date at 7:00. And I said, it's 6:47. And she was like legit laying in bed. I mean, scarf on, TV on, like everything. And I was like, you know, it's almost 7. And she was like, oh, he gonna be late. It's fine. Literally, I'm not even joking. 7:00 on the dot, he was knocking on the door. And I say, Mama, he at the door. And she was like, oh, shoot, go entertain him. And I was like, I don't know what to say. So I opened the door and he was standing there. And I was like, you can come in. And he was like, well, I don't want to come in unless I'm offered, you know, like welcome in. I said, okay. So then he stood there and I was like, you can sit down. And he was like, I just wanted to be respectful. I didn't want to sit. So anyway, I walked in the mama room and I was like, oh, Mama, he's handsome. And I said, what do I say? And she said, just talk to him. He got a daughter. Ask him about her. And so we sat and he talked and he told me about his daughter and everything was really, really nice. And from then, like, I realized he was really, really sweet. And like, when I saw his mama come out and she was all happy to see him and like really, really sweet. It was adorable just watching them look like high school kids, whatever. So anyway, they were together for a while. They got married. And so
you don't have to rush yourself because I have questions.
Oh, no, go ahead. But he is my stepdad. And I don't call him my stepdad because, like, you know, he is my dad. I just not biological.
Yeah. I don't think I knew that you spoke at his funeral.
So actually, oh my gosh, I wore this dress at his funeral. I didn't even notice that or realize.
Oh wow, that's
very
okay.
creepy.
It's not creepy. It's just kind of like, okay, so this was meant to be. Today is the anniversary. You're wearing the dress.
No, seriously. I don't do black at funerals. I think it's very depressing. I feel like when people die, we should celebrate their life, not, you know, like what they had. But honestly, so how it went was everybody was, and again, that whole situation was rough because when we got there, it was very unorganized, very chaotic. And it was this one man that came out trying to do his job. So the way the whole thing was set up, it was a very small, it was in a funeral home. That's where the, you know, funeral was set up at. And well, because, you know, most people, like some people do it in churches and stuff, but this was like a very small funeral home. And it was kind of like 2 sections. So the first section was supposed to be for like the close family and friends. And then the back was supposed to be for, you know, like whoever else wanted to come in. So they had us sitting like in the back, but in the first row. And I was like, you know, I'm about to sit up front. Like I'm his daughter, you know, like other than me and his other daughter, like who else is supposed to be up there, you know? And so he was like, y'all need to move. Y'all got to go outside and come back in. And I think tensions were already high because we had a funeral. Nobody wants to be here. You know what I'm saying? And then for him to come out. So we legit arguing back and forth. So he going to get his mama. I ain't supposed to be scared of your mama. I got a mama too. And
who is this again?
This was the funeral director's, I guess, son or.
That's what I thought.
They all work at the place or whatever. But it's like, y'all unorganized. So for them, and it was Kayla with me too. And Kayla was like, you know, Shay, it's okay, calm down. And I'm like, no, because what is he talking about? Like, we're not close friends and family. We're right here. Anyway, they were like, you know, just, it's okay. Stand up, you know, come outside. Just for us to sit right back where we started at. I said, you know what? Don't even worry about it. So anyway, my mama was up front and she had to pretty much fight for her seat. It was Wes' brother that was like, no, this is his ex-wife. Like, she need to be up here too. So my mama had to pull me from pretty much where I was at in the back to come up front where her and Jay was at. So anyway, I was already very annoyed, very, again, frustrated. And then when they was like, you know, they had all the people talk and do whatever. And it was like, you know, who wants to come up and do a speech, you know, leave it under 2 minutes. And it wasn't even a hesitation. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a thought. I legit just stood up. And my mama started boohoo crying. And she was like, my baby was the first one up. And I was like, it was no question, like, I'm going to speak because he meant a lot to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, he didn't have to come in our lives. And it wasn't just me. It was me and Jay. Like, my brother, Jay was 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? Like, he came in and took care of a 7-year-old and a 14-year-old. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
he did not have to do that. And so, and he was there the entire time. Anyway, and so, yeah, but I stood up, and again, I told that story about how I first met him, and then I told the story about how I can't cook, but he showed me how to make stuffed bell peppers. I still never tried it, but I know how to, so if I ever get adventurous one day.
That's what matters. I only asked that because I've never spoken at anybody's funeral. And I've been to quite a few. But I have been to one with a person who I was really close to, and I couldn't hold it together. So I can't imagine speaking at a parent's one. And I guess we don't know what we can do until it happens.
Yeah.
So we'll come back. Let's back up. So you said, your mom was a teen mom, and at any point in your childhood, did you ever ask her, like, who is my dad? Do I have a dad? Because of course you're a kid, so you're going to see other kids with their dads, or you watch Disney or Nickelodeon and they got a family. So you're going to ask those questions. Did you ask her that? And if you did ask her that, how did she respond?
I remember I was in 3rd grade. I had to have been in 3rd grade. I was like 9 or 10, however you old, in 3rd grade. And I don't know why it didn't dawn on me before then. I think because we grew up in a community where, like, all my friends and stuff, none of us really had a dad anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it just was like, oh, you got your mama and, your siblings. Or if they did have a dad, they didn't live in the house with them. Also, it's like my mama's side of the family, my daddy's side of the family, and my daddy's house. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it didn't dawn on me until I was in 3rd grade. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't know where my daddy at. So then I asked her, and I was like, well, where is he? And she was like, oh, he in Tennessee. And I just was telling people, Tennessee or Kentucky, one of them, I can't even remember no more. But she was like, oh, he's out of state. And so that's what I would tell people until I was about in middle school. I'll say maybe 6th or 7th grade. And I think I asked her again, and I was like, well, if he's in another state, let's just go see him. And so she sat me down and was like, I only told you that because I didn't know how to tell you the real story. She's like, you're getting older. You're more mature now. I don't know your daddy yet. I don't know, and then she told me the story about how, she was 14 years old and met him. But funny story was, I would say maybe 2 or 3 years before Wes died, Wes was like, oh, yeah, because my mama told me his name was Tony. So I was like, is it Tony? Is it Anthony? Is it short for something? Do we got a last name? But she was like, she knew that he was married with 3 kids. And he was in his 30s. So that's another reason why I just was like, okay, he can't really be around. And so my mama said that of course, she was 14. She was living at my granny house. He came by my granny house. And she told me this a few years ago, actually. He came by my granny house. And when I was 2 weeks old, and looked at me and was like, oh, she looked just like me. And I think in the moment he said he was going to be in my life, like he did have a whole family, but he was going to try to work something out. But my granny was like, you 30-something years old, you got my daughter pregnant, you come around here, go end you, or I'm going to call the police. You know what I'm saying? And so it was that moment he was like, I can't risk my entire life for this. And it sucks. It's sad. He shouldn't have put himself in that predicament anyway. But it's like, so he just didn't come back around at all, ever. So he knows I'm out there, if he even still alive. But he, whatever.
I mean, excuse me, he would be what, 60?
Yeah.
He could be alive. You said that like he would be in his 80s, 90s.
But Wes was like, yeah, Tony, we grew up on 10 Mile together. I know him. And I'm like, so y'all know each other. How? And were y'all not gonna say nothing? And I never wanted to press the issue because I'm like, what would that even look like if we did, start talking or whatever. So when I was in high school, I think I was in 11th grade, and I'm not gonna say names, but I'll tell you later. It was
Okay.
one guy that came up and was like, well, he messaged my mama and was like, your daughter looked just like me. I think she might be mine. And we was like, all right, let's go get a paternity test. So we went down to that little place in West Ashley, got a DNA test, whatever. And we waited like 2 weeks. And it seemed like the longest 2 weeks in history. And he literally would like message my mama and message me and be like, we gonna do this and we gonna do that. And he had another daughter that was my age that went to our school that we was just like, we about to be sisters. Like, this is my stepsister, you know what I'm saying? So we kind of got excited-ish, but it just was like, well, don't get too excited, because his mama was like, you don't need a DNA test, like, that girl look like you, don't do it. And I don't know if she was saying that to like avoid any heartache if it wasn't the case, or if she truly was just like, I know my grandkids, don't worry about it. Anyway, we waited to 2 weeks. He was talking about, we're going to have nail dates and hair dates, and we're going to do X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. He came back, it was negative. And he was like, oh, and he didn't even message out to me. He messaged my mama. Oh, it came back negative. All right, fine. And that was the end of everything. Whatever. Leave that there.
So, hold on. Let's let it breathe.
Well, they had another similar situation that happened like that right before my wedding.
I know, but I do want to let that breathe, because that is a lot. So you said the first time we were in high school. I had no idea about that. I knew probably the second one you're about to tell, but the first one in high school, had no idea. So in that time period where he's excited, his mom's excited, he's talking about all of these plans that you guys are going to have, what were you feeling?
I was excited, but it was kind of more so like the person who was going to be my stepsister, I didn't really know her, not to like her, but we didn't really have like a bond or connection. So it just was kind of like, I think I'm gonna have a sister, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never had a sister before, and it just was like, we're gonna have a dad. And so I knew we weren't gonna be like this television family where we're all just gonna live in a big house, but I was excited to learn about like him and his mom and his family, you know what I'm saying? Because I was like, I don't have a I had Wes, but it wasn't like a biological dad side of the family, And so, and then I just was like, okay, well, I got Wes and his family, but then like I can have, that guy and their family too, so it just was like very exciting to be like, oh, well, and this is gonna be my biological father. But then at the same time, I was thinking, would that change anything, because if he knows who I am and they're there, would that mean he would still continue to reach out? Would it just be like here and there, or would it actually be continuous? But I saw how much he was in the other girl's life. So I was like, oh, he'll for sure be there. So I was excited about that.
That's a fair question, because a lot of people will debate what's better. An inconsistent dad or completely absent dad?
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know what the better option is. My first gut reaction is to say a completely absent dad, because at least you just know he's just not there. But with an inconsistent dad, you've met him, you've been around him, and then you build up this excitement and anticipation, and then all of a sudden, okay, now he didn't show up. And so now you got to deal with that, heartbreak every time. So,
and the constant disappointment. And as a teacher, I used to see that too, and that broke my heart more than anything else, especially with kids and stuff. Or you would see kids like, oh, my dad's coming here, my dad's doing this, you know what I'm saying? And then they don't show up. And it's hard for disappointment as a child, as an adult, but as a child, it's like 10 times worse, because then you start to think, did I do something? And you internalize everything, and it's like, it's not your fault. But sometimes as a child, you can't help but think that, or you don't know really how to explain that to a child. So
and keep in mind, for those of you who are listening, just a quick little tidbit. Everyone has an attachment style, and that attachment style is established in infancy. So all of these stories that we're talking about, in this scenario, you would then create a child that may have an anxious attachment. So they cling on to people in hopes that they won't leave. Or you may have the opposite effect. You might have an avoidant person where they don't even want to get close to you because they expect you to leave. They don't want you to, but they expect you to. And then there's a third where it's called disorganized, where they do both. And those people who are both, it takes a lot of intensive therapy to get through that. And then of course you have your securely attached people who luckily did not have these issues and are able to foster healthy relationships. But that's just a tidbit. If you want to know what your attachment style is, you can just Google a quiz, it'll tell you, and you're not stuck with that attachment style for life.
I didn't know
That's
that.
just giving, yeah, no, that just gives you data, right? Like, this is where I am currently, and I can work towards being securely attached. Because for a very long time, I was anxious attachment. And the last time I took the quiz, it said that I'm now secure. That does not mean that I don't get triggered or things don't happen. But for the most part, with a lot of therapy and journaling and all that good stuff, I've been able to work through some really hard stuff. But anyway,
well, congratulations. I didn't realize that's something that could change. I thought it was more like,
yeah.
Like, what is the like love languages? You know, like I thought it was like, if this is what it is, then that's pretty much who you are. But
well, even love languages can change. Love languages can change. They do change.
Oh.
Because love languages tend to change based on what you're not getting at that point in time.
Oh,
right.
That makes sense.
So like, you may not be a physical touch person, but now you're in a long distance relationship, and all of a sudden physical touch is like number 2. So that could be, that could change as well. But I wanted you to go ahead with the second part. I just wanted to let that breathe a little bit.
Oh yeah, thank you. So the second part was about a few months before I was getting married, and the guy just came out. I'm scrolling through Facebook, minding my own business, and I see a message, and I was like, and I always get messages from random people, like whatever, you just block them, ignore them.
Yeah.
But this guy was like, hey, baby girl, I'm your dad, and I'm so excited. And I'm like, who the hell is this? That's so creepy.
That is creepy as hell. Yeah.
Very creepy. And I wasn't going to entertain it. So I asked my mama, I said, Mama, who is this? And she was like, oh, I told him not to message you. But I was like, but if you was going to get a DNA test, I would have had to known what was going on. So anyway, he was, when I say excitement, like there's 10, and then there was him. Like he was so excited. This man would message me all day, every day. And he would be like, listen, I don't even need no DNA test. And he told all his friends. Now, the only part about it was he had a wife. So he was like, well, I don't want to tell him I got an adult daughter yet, because I don't know how she's going to take it. But, my mama know I got a daughter, and all my friends and family. And I'm just so excited. And I'm just like, dude, I don't even know you. So anyway, again, I was about to get married. And he was like, and what a man where's the lucky guy? I got to talk to him. Make sure he treat my daughter right now. And I'm just like, so it just became so strong, so excited. But I'm like, okay, I'm glad you're excited. But I've been through this before. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you got your hopes up. I don't want to get my hopes up, but at the same time, his excitement got me excited too. Because I'm like, okay, we can do this. And so my mama was telling him, like, you need a DNA test. And he was dead set on not doing it. He was like, I don't need that. Like, I know you my daughter. We got this. So anyway, that was maybe like a week of him. When I said messaging, like, every single day, like, good morning, baby girl. How you doing? I hope you having a good day at school or work. I think I was working in. Hope you having a good day at work. Blah, blah, blah. And it just was like, so it became a lot. So then I was like, well, if he's not my dad, I don't got to deal with this man no more because that's a lot. But then if he is, but then if he is, like, it'll be, strange. But then he was like, and you getting married and they get to walk you down the aisle. And I'm like, I have a dad. I met you a week ago and my wedding's in a few months. You cannot walk me down. You can come to the wedding, but you're not walking me down the aisle. I don't know you,
Yeah.
Anyway, he was very, very, very.
You didn't have kids?
I don't remember. He
must be didn't.
No, maybe not, because he was so excited. But I'm like, sir. Or I don't think he did. I think his wife did. So he was like,
Hmm.
having, playing stepdad to them, but not, his own biological kid.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, like, he would message again, these like sweet, heartfelt messages or whatever. It was a lot, but I could tell he was like really excited to have a daughter. So anyway, we finally got the DNA test, and my mama was like, "Oh no!" I think my mama messaged me and was like, "It's negative. I'm so sorry." Well, then he messaged me while I was at work one day, and he was like, "Did your mama call you?" And he was like, and I said, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh, baby girl, it's negative. I'm so sorry." And he was like, "Well, you will always be my daughter. Don't worry about it." But then that was the end of that. And I'm like, yeah, because if it wasn't, it'd be kind of creepy. Like this man who thought it was your dad, who was excited to be your dad. But anyway, I felt like I could sense the disappointment in him. And I was
Yeah.
disappointed too, but I think because it happened before, I was more prepared for it not to be, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I will say that stirred up a whole bunch of emotions that I didn't think I had until then, because then I was like, I really want to know who my dad is now because of how excited he got. But then I was telling Chad about it. Chad's my husband, by the way, guys, if you
Yes.
but I was telling Chad about it, and he was like, you're okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're happy. If you go out and find this guy, you don't know what kind of emotion it's going to bring on. You don't know if he's going to be there and avoid you. You don't know if he's going to, like, shun you. You don't know any of this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So, and he was like, whatever you decide to do, I'm supportive. Yeah, I got your back. But if you go out and do all this stuff, just be prepared for the good and the bad. And so for a long time, I was like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. And then I never went to do like the DNA ancestry or the 23andMe or any of that stuff. Cause I was like, I don't care that much. But if I know he's in Charleston and, like he could come around and be like, oh, hey, I'm your dad, like what would that look like? What would the next steps look like essentially? And it's like, okay, you're there. And because I already had Wes too, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to have this person because I don't have somebody. So it made me more curious, but then I was like, I think I'm okay with not having it. But then it went from that to me being angry because I'm like, I'm 20 something years old at this point. You got a child out there. Oh, and by the way, my granny lives in the same house she's living. Her daddy built that house. So she's never moved. So if he truly wanted to reach out, even if he didn't know if that was the same house, he could have tried. You know what I'm saying? He could have been like, I, came around here, whatever. And then he has 3 older kids. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I feel like he definitely could have reached out if he really wanted to know for a fact he has another child out there.
I'm sorry that you went through that because that's a lot. That's a lot to get your hopes up and then be disappointed twice like that. I think what makes it complex because I don't know the 2 men that did test, were they also older?
No. And so there was like my mama age. And so I just
okay.
So the second one wasn't older. He wasn't old enough to be my dad. He wasn't the 15 years older. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it couldn't have been him. The other one just was excited because he was like, but that was the other thing too. She said she was kind of like with both of them. So there was a possibility. So even if like the Tony guy like wasn't my dad, there was a possibility that they could have been. So that's why they got tested too. Or like
But that's why I asked because those 2 were age appropriate.
Yeah.
But the guy that she's thinking is your dad is not. And I wonder if some of that is him being afraid that he's going to go to prison.
Oh, for sure. That's what my granny told him not to come back around there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And he wouldn't,
because he was wrong. That she was a child. You are a grown ass man. And it's just so many layers to it because I'm sure your mom has guilt about that. But also she was a kid and he preyed on her.
No, seriously.
Right? He preyed on her, and this is the result. Like, luckily, yes, we have you, but also what he did was not okay.
No, not at all. And that's what Chad was saying too. Like, it wouldn't be a joyous moment. Like, oh my gosh, I found my daughter. My daughter found me, you know? And especially because he has 3 older siblings. I don't know how they would take that either. You know what I'm saying? Like, my dad had a child outside of my mom, and we're supposed to just welcome you with open arms. You know what I'm saying? So all that just kind of was like, you know, we can leave that where it's at. But now that I have my own baby and the doctors are asking about like genetics,
health questions,
yeah, it does get very frustrating. Or even for me. So when I had COVID, it almost took me out. I was in ICU for a week. Like, I had heart failure. I had heart problems. Like, it was terrifying. So the doctor's asking me questions about family history, and I'm like, I got half. I can tell you what my mama's side. I have no idea what my daddy's side. They asking if I got asthma or all this other stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. I can tell you what I have, you know. So that side would have been very helpful to know if they had any of these problems going on. So now with my baby, I'm like, I got, you know, me and Chad, but I don't have, you know, grandparents history, or, you know, I mean, I got, you know, his parents, but yeah.
Also, I wonder if Chad's stance is his stance based on his own stuff.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Because like you said, unfortunately, growing up, mostly everybody had their mama. They didn't have their dad. And then even if they didn't have their mom or dad, then they had their granny. It was always usually a woman. And usually from the maternal side of the family, most of the time. How do you think, of course you had Wes. He didn't come until you were 14. And also that doesn't erase you not knowing who your biological dad was and not having a biological dad from the time you were from birth to 14. But also in that gap of time, you dealt with your brother's dad, who, from my understanding, was not father of the year. So how do you think how did that influence your view of men?
That's a really good question. So I know I didn't like to be around, you know, him, but also I had my uncle who was very, very great, who was very involved, who would take me to get my hair done every 2 weeks, who would take me and Jay to the pool all the time. So he didn't have kids of his own yet. So he was just like, you know, come on. He used to drive yellow cab all the time. He used to take us with him, you know. Probably wasn't.
You're telling our age.
Right. No, seriously. But no, like, he would just bring us with him. So he was always there as a father figure too. So I saw like what a not so great father figure looked like, and I saw what a wonderful father figure looked like. Even though he didn't live with us or wasn't in the house with us, but I saw like what that could look like, you know. And like I said, he was pretty much always there for us. I mean, I don't remember him ever telling me no. I didn't ask for a lot, so that's probably why too. But yeah, I mean, he was great.
Did that influence how you saw boys or how you dealt with boys?
I don't know. And I don't know if that's how you mean, like in relationships and stuff, or just,
I mean, with boys. Because I mean, from the time you started to date, we'll say that, and like boys, how were you with boys?
I don't know if I just didn't pair the two, you know what I'm saying? Or if I just didn't.
I know you didn't. That's what we're gonna do for the audience. So how were you with boys as a preteen and a teenager?
I was at home. What do you mean?
Okay, don't say it like that.
But it's true. No, seriously, like, I just was very, very, very like boy crazy. And I don't know if it's because like I was craving that like extra attention, you know, because like I said, I had my uncle, but he wasn't with us 24/7, you know. And it was crazy because like I knew I was loved, you know. Like, I had my mama, I had my aunt, my granny, you know. I even had my uncle, and I had like all these women around me. But outside of, again, before I was 14, before she met Wes, before I had my uncle, I had my uncle, but we didn't have any like other men around. And so I'm wondering if that's why I craved like that male's attention and just wanted like love from them or like approval from them, you know. But
Yeah.
So I guess it influenced it in that way. And again, my brother's dad was like living in the house with us, but we didn't really have a relationship at all. So he just was kind of there to babysit. And then while my mama went to school, and then when she came home, it just was like, all right, he's out, so.
Yeah. And I bring that up because a lot of times when we have conversations about daddy issues, which I said in the intro episode, I used to hate that term because people tend to either sexualize it or they only pin it on women, right? So if a woman ends up with a bunch of bad dudes or she's promiscuous or whatever the case may be, they'll be like, oh, she got daddy issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I feel like that's a quick throwaway word, but it's also more to it, because if we're looking at family, right? Your mom had you while she was a kid. And then I don't know when your grandmother had them, but she had you while
17,
she was
and
when she had your mom.
Yeah, well, she was 17 when she had my aunt and uncle. They're older twins, and then 20 when she had my mom. And even then, that was a whole situation within itself.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, so your grandmother had teen pregnancy, then mom, and then they get to you, and you said you're boy crazy. But in reality, as we're listening to your story, it's clear that you were a little girl who wanted attention from a male figure. And as a preteen and teenager, unfortunately, that attention from little boys who are going through puberty and got all type of hormonal things going on, they're wanting to probably have sex or do those types of things. And probably in your mind, you thought, okay, well, if I do this, then I have his love and affection. When in reality, that's not what it is. Do you think you ever realized that as a teenager?
No, definitely not as a teenager. As a teenager, I just was kind of going through it and being like, I'm talking to this guy or I'm with this guy, and it just, I don't think I really realized it until pretty much when I got to college. And then I realized, it just is not okay. Or, you're going through all this other stuff with all these people and they're nowhere to be found now.
Did any, I'm not going to say older boys, I'm going to say, were there any adults that tried to get at you?
They were all adults.
They were all adults, no kids? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm just curious because I did not experience that. But for those who have, how did they even get in contact with you? Like how was there an opportunity for an adult to talk to you if you were a teenager? And they didn't go to school with us.
Y'all ever heard of Moco Space? I'm an ancient.
No.
So
was it like Black Planet?
Kinda, but for I guess younger. Well, I guess not younger because they was on it too. But it was called Moco Space. And this is when I was in 9th grade. So I will say, I went to military manager from 6th grade to 12th grade until 9th grade. And I didn't call a school out because I don't want to bash them. But that was the worst year of my life. Like literally, I would never take it back because I've learned so much and I've learned and grown. But literally, like my 9th grade year was literally the worst year of my entire life, like 100%. Anyway, that's why I found out about Moco Space. So it's pretty much like you said, Black Planet or any social media app where you just go on. Now I will say I've never ever lied about my age ever. If I was 14, I let it be known. If I was 15, because I didn't want anybody to get locked up. Like if you're doing this with a minor, I want you to fully know I'm 14 years old. Like you can be 25 and 30 all you want. I'm 14. So I was very open and honest. But anyway, and on the page, they list your age so you know who you can set your preferences to. So anyway, I just kind of met up on there. Or like when I went to school, I was a bus rider, but it was like the bus that was around the corner from my house. You got to walk to school, so I would either get picked up there or picked up from school. Or the school I went to was so big they didn't really do attendance or care, or if they did call for attendance, like it just was so much to get like
it wasn't really monitored.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I mean, there was no locks or sirens, and anyway, it was easy to just go off and do whatever with whoever, wherever.
It's terrible.
Um, so that's how, and we just meet up, and then also because so this was out in Goose Creek. My mama worked downtown Charleston, so that
Mhm.
drive from downtown to Goose Creek, I knew she got off at a certain time. And so if I knew, like, if I got out of school at 2:30, I got until like 4 o'clock to just be back home, So
Yeah. Any older Black adults who may be listening, if you find that there are teenage girls or boys who are sexually active, do not call them fast.
yeah.
Do not call them grown. Please pull that child to the side and see what's really going on. Because, and I work with kids, teenagers specifically, and I always say this: it's one thing for a teenager to explore their own body or explore with, I'll say, one other person, right? It's another thing for them to explore with several different people. I'm not saying you did this, but explore
Oh,
with
I
several
did.
different explore with several different people, because then that's telling me that something is going on, right? Um for them to be hypersexual like that.
Mhm.
I just wanted to throw that tidbit out there. That's a whole deeper conversation for another day. But like, I just want to throw that out there because you said that there wasn't really any monitoring going on at your school, so they probably didn't even notice
No,
whether you were there or not. So your mom never found out that you.
he did find out
Okay.
because there was one day where, well, two situations happened, and I will say her name because I'm pretty sure she had a lot to do with saving my life. We don't really talk anymore. Anyway, we're friends on Facebook. You remember Amber Walker?
Yes, I do.
So I was telling her like all this stuff or whatever. And so she was like, Cassandra, as a friend, I'm not going to let you do any of this stuff, like
Mm-hmm.
this cannot happen. I'm going to call your mom. And so I was like, you call your mom, I'm not going to be your friend no more. And so she was like, I love you too much for that. Like, we just
Mm-hmm.
not going to have to be friends. So she called my mama and told her everything that was going on. And in the moment, I was livid. I was pissed. I was like, why would you do this? But years later, I honestly thank her. You know what I'm saying? Because I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if my mama would have ever found out had she not said anything. You know what I'm saying? Because
Mm-hmm.
my mama was just doing the best she could. She was working. She had 2 kids, you know what I'm saying? And she
Mm-hmm.
literally was just trying her best. And so I think after Amber talked to her, she just was like, oh, yeah. Now she's more aware of, like situations and what's going on and stuff like that. But yeah, that happened. And then I guess something happened where I wasn't fully clear on how it happened, but somebody came back to the house and showed her something. I don't know. She never really told me the details of that
Yeah.
situation. But anyway, so that's pretty much how she found out all that was going on. And then we quickly moved from where we was at. And then I came back to military pageant. So yeah.
Got it. Got it. Okay. And once all of that was said and done, was Wes already in the picture?
He was, but I think he was just like starting out in the picture. So he wasn't really
Okay.
like living with us. He was around her a lot. He wasn't really around like us a lot. So like me and
Okay.
Jay.
So once he did get in the picture, did that behavior continue?
Not really. It slowed down a lot. It continued a little bit because I still had like contact with these people,
Yeah.
But then afterwards it kind of like slowed down, and then we moved, and then it just did eventually stop. And so, and
Mhm.
again, I wasn't fully sure if it stopped because 1, we moved. 2, I was at a school that actually loved and cared. But you say whatever you want to say about military back, they were nosy as hell, but they loved us, and I could tell they actually cared about our well-being. Like literally, it was one time, and I'll thank Ms. Gaten for this. Now, I was pissed at the time. I
Yeah.
tried to get picked up, so I walked across the street, and a guy picked me up from school. So the next day, Ms. Yedem like, hey, Cassandra, somebody will pick you up. That be your uncle. oh, that been a cousin, that been a friend. Your mama know about that. She drilled the hell out of me. And I was like,
as she should.
why is she so nosy? I was pissed. So of course she tell my mama, and I got in so much trouble. But then my mama was like, this what we, so we ended up talking about it. So in that situation, it's like I appreciate her for even paying attention, for being that person, because at the other school, they didn't care if I was even in class. And this was after school. This lady saw everything. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
but again, it was more people that was actually paying attention, loving and surrounding. That we moved, like I had Wes. It just was a lot.
What did your mother say at this point after she had already found out all this information? Wes is now in the picture. You still trying to be a little slick now that y'all have moved. What did she say to you?
She put me in therapy for a while because she was like, well, it was
I did not know that.
It was like 2 sessions where I just was like, I ain't going back to them people. But yeah, I think because, well, she's a therapist. Let me just start by saying that. So she knew, I think by this time, she knew something deeper was going on, And so she just was like, all right, well, let me just see about what's going on. Oh, and I mean, I don't mind sharing again. I'm an open book. When I was 17 years old, was like one of the older guys. He did get me pregnant. And my mama was like, we're going to get an abortion. And I think it was like around all that situation.
Trigger warning.
Like, yeah. And so I just was like, I think she was already like mentally done, mentally drained, but it was all around the same time. So she was like, I need to do better for you. And she even said, because I was a teen mom, I don't like how my life, went. And I don't want your life to be like that too. So I think she just was kind of like on top of it more. So yeah. And I will say I did get nervous for myself when I went to college though. Because you in college, like there's no curfew in college. And then I don't know about other schools, but I know my school, I'm at the Francis Marion, you don't have to have like you can have a car as a freshman. I know some schools don't let you.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I didn't have a car, but I had friends with cars, whatever. So it just was like, we didn't have a curfew. You could have a car. You could do whatever you want to. You could talk to whoever you wanted to. But I think by that time, I was already like, I partied.
You had done everything.
Yeah.
I said you had done everything. It was really nothing to look forward to.
Yes, I think that's what it is. And as bad as it sounds, I think I appreciated having all that while I had, my mama and the nosy teachers and everybody around, because I was more, like grounded in that and had, them watching out for me, as opposed to being in college. I honestly don't know where I would be if I didn't have experienced any of that and did all that in college and then wild out, because there's no, you know what I'm saying? Like you in college, I was an RA, I was a resident assistant. All we had to do was make sure everybody was safe, nobody starting fires, nobody smoking, drinking. Outside of that, you can bring whoever you want in your room. You can go wherever you want to, you know what I'm saying? So.
But you also met your now husband in college. So I think that probably helped too, because you probably not going to move the same way if you're in a relationship.
And I will say too, when I got to college, I think, and everybody was like, oh, you freshman, everybody want to talk to you. I was more annoyed by that. I thought I would be more flattered, or I thought I would be like, oh, they want to talk to me? Okay. Yeah. I was so annoyed. I was like, y'all get out. I think because I knew like they was preying on all the freshmen. And so I liked Chad because he wasn't paying me any attention. It was like, we all went to their friend's room and he was like, oh, who's a loud girl? And I was like, he literally just ignored every girl that he saw. And so I was like, I think I like him because he wasn't in everybody's face, because he wasn't trying to chase after all the girls, and he was actually there for school. And so I was like, oh, I like that. I want to talk to him.
When he met Wes, was that a good first interaction?
It was a great first interaction with Wes. I think it was my mama that kind of intimidated him first. And then by the time he got to Wes, it just was like, all right. And Wes was like, I like you. Like as long as you're treating her well, that's all that matters. I don't care about, anything else y'all got going on. And I think too, my uncle kind of like drills him hard too, because my uncle has been there, of course, from day one. That's my uncle wanted to make sure. And also I met Chad. So school started in August. I met Chad in September.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, they're like, you've been in school a month and you got a boyfriend, you know, like, get it together.
Y'all made it official in that month?
You know, we're married now.
No, I'm not judging it. I'm just like, because I don't remember that. I don't remember
September
that.
20th. Yeah, we made it official.
Oh, okay. I never knew that. This is news to
met,
me.
And I think school started like mid-August, so it wasn't even the beginning of August. But yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we met September, made it official and everything. But I think, again, by that time, like, we knew, you know, like, I like you, you like me, like, you don't have to be out here with all these other people, you know, like, let's just be together.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think from that standpoint, it wasn't personal. They didn't know him. They just knew you met a guy a month in school. Like, is this even real? Is this gonna last? What are his intentions? You know what I'm saying? But I think, like, as we stayed together longer, he came around more. I went around his family. They realized, oh, this is serious. And she actually likes him and he likes her. And then when he asked, you know, Wes and my mama if he could marry me, they were like, oh my gosh, you know, it's the big deal. They're actually in love. It's not just some like college fling, you know, so.
I think that is great. That although you've been through what you've been through, that you marry somebody who could be an example for Chance. Because had you had your baby at 17, not to say that you wouldn't be in the space that you're in now, it might have just taken you longer. Yeah, it probably would have taken you much longer to get to this place. Is there any advice that you would give to someone who might be in your position who doesn't know who their dad is, but they might be curious about it?
I would tell people, like, follow your heart, do whatever is best for you, but you have to think about the good and the bad, you know, like, understand that if this person knows you, okay, let's just find out, oh, your dad's Sam. All right, here we go. What is tomorrow gonna look like? Is it gonna be like how it was yesterday, or is it gonna be like we building this relationship? And if we built this relationship, would it continue? Would it look the same next year, or will we be back where we was at last year? And then sometimes it's like you don't want somebody to come in and disturb your life either, and, you know, shake it up, because then what if, you know, you do find out this person's your father and now they a bum and they need $20 every week, or they just, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know,
consider all the outcomes.
Literally, like, everything. So, I mean, I think at this point in my life, I know I'm okay with not knowing who he is, especially because, like, I am happy and, you know, Chance is happy. And I think too, because seeing how, like, great of a father Chad is with Chance, you know, it's like, I just love watching them do that. And even my uncle has a son now, seeing, like, how great of a dad he is. I just love, you know, having that. And
this is a question together. I should have asked earlier.
Oh, it's okay.
But I'm gonna just ask it. Do you think that you have forgiven your mom?
Honestly, I don't think I ever was mad at her, or
okay.
Yeah, I think because I don't think I ever thought about her side of it until a few years ago, honestly. I think I was always like, he left and he did blah, blah, blah. He did blah, blah, blah. But she said, she was like, yeah, he did this, but I still did what I did too, you know? I think because I saw, like, her struggling with it so much, I never thought about, like, yeah, she had
being
a part
upset
in
with
too,
her.
you know? Yeah, and so it just was like, I don't think I ever did that. And honestly, I don't think I ever will, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, yeah, she did that, but also it's like she didn't just give me to my granny, or she didn't just be like, you know, well, here, you take her, because she could have. And honestly, I personally know some people that had kids that legit gave them away and was like, I don't want nothing to do with this child. And she, you know, kept me and Jay and was like, I'm doing the best I can for my kids. She went to school. She got her master's degree. Like, she's doing wonderful now. So, I mean, I appreciate everything that she went through. And sometimes I feel bad that she even had to go through any of that, you know, because sometimes I think about her life too, like how different her life would look like if, you know, she didn't do this. Oh, and by the way, Granny did take her to get an abortion. They walked, they didn't have a car at the time, so she tried to get one. I think they said that she was too heavy, she couldn't get one. So then they had to go to, I think, Atlanta, where they were doing abortions. But
This
when
is with you?
yeah, with me.
Oh.
When she tried to go to Atlanta, they said she was a week out and couldn't get it. So she was stuck with the baby. So yeah, so all that to say, just like
you were meant to be here.
I was meant to be here.
Yeah. I relate to what you're saying as far as you don't place a lot of blame on your mom. And I haven't this is just the third episode, so I haven't dug deep into my own stuff just yet. I will just keep listening. But same with you, similar to you, in that if anything, I feel a lot of empathy for my mama's teenage self. I don't feel angry towards her. I don't feel upset with her for choosing who she chose to be my dad, because she was a kid. And we tend to make silly decisions when we are children, right? Because we don't have the information that we need. The sucky thing is, though, we tend to make very big decisions at our least mature time in life, right? Like that's when people get drafted into the military. That's when people go off to college, and that's the first taste of freedom that they have. And so they go off and they start experimenting, right? With drinking and drugs and sex and whatever else. So all of that to say, yes, I agree. I don't have a lot of anger with my mama either, because yes, she plays a role in it, but she was a kid. And I know when we were kids, we were stupid.
Very.
As far as making certain decisions. Like you said, you were upset with Amber, who really was looking out for your well-being. So is there anything else that you would share or give advice to anybody out there that might be going through a similar thing as you?
I would say, you know, cherish the people that you have, you know, because and family isn't just blood, you know, because like I said, Wes wasn't my biological dad, but he was my dad. So anytime I like refer to him, I just be like, you know, that's my dad or that's Wes, you know what I'm saying? Because he doesn't have to give birth to me to actually be a great dad or a great, you know, father figure and stuff. So, and also, I was thinking the other day, or maybe not the other day, maybe last year, about like, you know, life lessons and stuff. You know, people like, you know, what are some life lessons your parents gave you, whatever. I don't think Wes ever gave like no concrete, like, you know, eat your broccoli before your blah, 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 you know, words like that. But I think it was always in his actions. Like he showed up all the time, and him being there meant so much to me and Jade, because it would be like, literally, he'll just come on Saturday morning. You got plans for today? No, why? All right, put your clothes on. Let's ride. And we got to Myrtle Beach. Or I'd be like, you know, he'd be like, you got plans for tonight? No. All right, get dressed. Where we going? We going wherever the front and the back of the car going. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? So it just was like, he would always be there and always, you know, like be attentive to us and, you know, just.
It sounds like you feel like you definitely still had the daddy-daughter experience. Even though it may look different from others, you still had that experience. And although he isn't here, you still have those memories. Did you take time to grieve that?
I don't think so. I think because in the moment, and not even just like him passing, but anytime like stuff happens, it's always like go, 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 go. And then afterwards, you kind of sit and think about it and be like, you know what? We never think about that. But I got to tell you that when we're not recording, because it's very legal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you did. Your baby has a part of him. His name.
He does. So he has his middle name. So Wes was his last name. His real first name was Anthony. But the whole family, you know, we didn't want to do Anthony because You just don't like the Anthony name. But it's
Yeah.
Wes, but it's W-E-S without the T. So it's Chancellor Wes McCorkle. So he has that little part of him. Sometimes I do think about it and I'm like, oh, I wish Wes was here. Wes would love him, his little cheeks.
Yeah.
But, he's here in spirit. So that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Also, though, sometimes I swear Chance be seeing ghosts and people because he'll be sitting there and then randomly start smiling and laughing. And I'm like, I'm glad you're here and all, but
babies do. They do see.
Yeah, they do.
I believe it. I mean, what are they gonna do to you?
I don't know. My mama said that too. Like, you should be more afraid of the living than the dead. I know. It's just creepy.
As long as it's a good person, right? Like,
yeah.
And not some random person. I don't know. It doesn't really creep me out too much. Just don't move nothing in the house. Like, just be there. I don't need to know you right there. Just that's it. Yeah, well, thanks for sitting with me and sharing your story. I really hope that this helps someone out there. Always remember to like, comment, like, ask questions, DM. We want this to be an ongoing conversation because you're not the only one. And like I said, everybody's story matters. Today was Cassandra's story. Join us next time. I have been Daisha D.
I'm Cassandra.
Okay. Join us every other week for a new episode and become a part of the Daddy Lessons podcast community because everyone has a story and every story deserves to be heard.